Well, welcome back, everyone. We've got another special guest for you. If you love, arcade machines, you love retro stuff, you like, dioramas, you like art, you like all that sort of stuff, you're really going to enjoy our next person. His name's Sean Tagg. He's does a podcast as well, and he's kind of on the retro scene and does everything. Hence, let's look at what's behind him. So, welcome, Sean. How are you?
Good, thanks, Andrew. Not bad at all, mate. Not bad. It's nearly the weekend for us, so yeah, it's time to enjoy our hobbies and things like that, and family, and so on and so
on. yeah. So, okay, why these projects you make? And tell us about some that you do.
All right. So I suppose I'm into a few things. I'm into arcade machines. I think that's where my original love for video games came from the late 70s. I'm into art, drawing, craft, model making. More recently into podcasting in the last couple of years, which really ties up the arcade and the video game side of it, and gets an opportunity to share a love with people all over. So they're probably some of the key things that I'm into art and video games, and they do cross over and cross barriers every now and again, and they're combined to a project, So I've got a few different projects that I've been going through and whatnot. I could share a few with you if you like.
Yes, that would be great. I think everyone would want to see this. Yes.
Yeah. So this is just here to the side of me. This is a Sega Outrun machine. It's Australian built. Machine from 1986 by Leisure and Allied Industries. I bought it $500 probably about 4 years ago.
Okay.
It didn't work. It needed a lot of love and attention, so it got fully stripped down to every last little bolt, repainted, cleaned. The mechanics got redone on it. The electronics got redone. Had a new monitor. And yeah, it's fully working now. It's a 30-odd-year-old machine. It's my favourite game of all time. A lot of memories as a kid playing it at the seaside. And the really interesting point about it is it's signed by the creator Yu Suzuki.
Oh wow!
So so it's probably a priceless little thing that I got. So very lucky. One of the retro gaming community members, Chris Van Grass, went to San Francisco, had a dinner with Yu Suzuki, and he took that lit up sign with him in his suitcase. So I'm ever indebted to him for getting it signed by the creator. And so that's one side of Sega, and Outrun is one of my big loves. The other side, because it's a 1980s arcade machine, these things don't always run all the time. But I've got a restored that's a Japanese Donkey Kong Jr. So I'm a part-time Donkey Kong fanatic, I would say. Every year, apart from this year, unfortunately, due to the COVID situation, I go to the Donkey Kong Championships in Brisbane.
Yes.
And fight it off at Donkey Kong with other fellow Donkey Kong fanatics. So that's something that I like to do, arcade. It involves a bit of art, restoration, and handcraft, trying to get these things working.
Because you've met a few famous and you could say also controversial arcade champions in Brisbane, haven't you?
I have, yes. Yeah, I'll actually... there's a hat up there. I don't know if you can see it, guys, but it's actually got a Billy Mitchell pin badge on it. It was, so it's part of the whole Kong scene. I've got a couple of his hot sauces as well.
Oh, you have you? Wow.
Yeah. I have it on my pizza on a Saturday night or whatever.
Yeah.
Try it on a few different things. So he's an interesting character. He's very, very tall. He's like subhuman size, this guy. He's certainly a large character, and you can have your own opinions of him. I try to not have an opinion and sit in the middle, because at the end of the day, I've met the guy once. I haven't got enough time to study all of the evidence that people pull together, and
neither do I.
Where does Sorry, Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah. I find I think he's so larger than life, and immortalized in King of Kong, and
Yeah.
yeah, he does the sources. He does I think he's a brilliant marketer. How he
Yes. Yeah.
is, and yeah, he's just like he's this character, and seeing stuff that he's done, it always goes, oh, it brings me back to the interest in arcade.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He's like he's not a bad person like when you meet him,
Yeah,
but he's always a Billy Mitchell character.
yeah,
He's always got the suit on, the tie on, and so on and so on.
yeah.
But yeah, interesting guy. I played next to him. I was actually in front of him at one point in the competition.
Oh, wow.
It didn't last for too long, but I did take a quick photo while I was above him on the scoreboard. But
That was good. That's
didn't last
something to brag about.
it's something to, it's a bit of fun. But yeah, so yeah, we catch up for that every year as well, which is nice. A few drinks, catch up, with people in a similar interests, whatever.
So did you think when you took the photo, while you're beating him, you just go yank the power cord out and go,
yeah.
what do you do?
That's right.
Do you do?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I
no more
beat
games. No more games.
And
obviously,
yeah.
Obviously, he went ahead and won it, didn't he? As well, typically.
Yeah.
He won the competition, which is the first Kong off he's ever won, believe it or not.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so he's never won any of the American ones, but yeah, he came over here and we gave him a good shot, but he got there in the end, unfortunately. Unfortunately for him, anyway.
But yeah, and also Outrun. It's such an iconic game. I can still see you've got the stand-up version. The first version I ever saw of Outrun was the one where you actually sit in it, and I remember marveling at that, going, "Wow, you can change the music, and it moves, and just the music playing and the flow and everything else." And the thing is, it was such a good game. When I end up buying the Amstrad 128K port of it, which was one of the worst ports, I was like, what is this? This is terrible. And I knew I was in trouble, and I still have it in the case. It was like, oh, the game comes with a cassette with the music. And I'm like,
I got that too,
Yeah. And I'm like, oh no. So, I did play it a lot, but it just wasn't the same.
No, back then there was a real big gap between what we played at home and what the arcades were, seeing back then. So, I was the same. I had the Commodore 64 version for Christmas, probably 1986. I would have thought it would have been that year it came out. And I got the double pack with a double tape in it as well, and that used to go in the other room where the cassette player was in the stereo.
Yeah,
and I'd put that on and then play the game, wait for it to load each level,
Yeah,
but it was a big. It's amazing what. I say it's amazing what. You still found something good. You still trying to find something good about it, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Well, it wasn't much of a stretch, because I was like, oh no, the music's not in the game. But like, even probably going back to 83, 84, that period with the games I was playing, especially the ones that were pretty much a Star Wars knockoff, I would put the Star Wars soundtrack in the stereo, and go, well, okay, there you go. And I remember thinking, oh, one day, wouldn't it be great if games had soundtracks like that? And of course, it's so ubiquitous now. It's just
you wouldn't expect anything to not have it, would you?
No. So with the Outrun cabinet, how long did that take? And what sort of budget were you dealing with having to build it?
Right. Well, what did it? It's kind of finished. There's still a few little loose ends to tie up, but to say I've had it for 3 years, it was about a year, I would say, of getting it to the level where you could actually play it.
Yeah.
These arcade boards in these machines are they're pretty temperamental, and I've actually sent I've sent 2 of these boards back to the UK now. It costs about $300 every time you send one back, so it's not something you can do Very often, really, and you know, I think the clock time on one of the boards was 11 hours. That's how long it had been on between spending $300 and getting it repaired and it dying again. So 11 hours for $300 worth of it's, you know, it's but it is what it is. It's you know, it's running now. Fingers crossed it won't die during the interview. But yeah, but it's took me a year or so to get it up and running, and then I'm still fine tuning little bits and fixing up some small little finishing touches to it.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
So
what else are you going to show us?
All right, what else can I show? I'll show you some shoes. So this is
the shoes. I want to see the shoes.
This is where I suppose video games and my art come in, and they kind of cross over. So you can see that these. So this is again. This is another love of mine, I suppose. This artwork. It's copied off Japanese imported Sega games from the 90s. So I was a big fan of importing video games. And I always loved the artwork on the boxes of those games. That game really stuck with me, you know, as one of my favorites with different types of artwork. And I've copied that. I did that drawing 20, 30 years ago with that Shinobi, the character from Shinobi. And it was, I remember it being on the bedroom wall for years, you know, and then I thought, you know what, I'll have another go at drawing that same thing. But I did it with acrylic. So it was done on the shoe with pencil first and then acrylic paint, you know, and probably took a week of evenings just to kind of do that. So probably 10 to 15 hours worth of painting perhaps on that one. And then this one, when I'm not playing games, or you know, when my mind's allowed to rest and think about other things, I think about what other crossovers or designs I can do. So this was just again, it was going into the shoes, and this was a transformation from you know, being a centurion to changing into the wolf on Altered Beast. So it kind of worked out quite nicely. The flames and stuff, and then I did the Sega across the kind of across the back, you know, the back of the shoes, and then on the inside the one that's got the centurion on it, it's got his eye, you know, and then on the arcade it kind of does that, you know, it does that transformation, you know, where he goes from that to the wolf. So that was something else I did. But what tends to happen is, Andrew, I don't know if it's the same with you and your artwork and things. What I put everything into it, and then I burn out on it, and I don't want to do any more for a long while.
Yes, I can get into it's well, because it's a huge amount of effort, and like you know, see, and like I've said this to you many times, like online, I think they're for me, it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen. I think it's I think I love how inventive it is, how it looks and everything, and it's like, these are shoes they should have available in stores. Because I would buy a pair, but I could appreciate the effort that you'd put into it, but it was more the imagination. And the first time I saw them, I was looking, just going, oh, that is just, you know, it's a big difference between someone putting it on a canvas, just like a flat canvas on a wall. But the style you've done with the shoes and everything, I was like, oh, that's just, you know, if I had a pair, I wouldn't be wearing them. So I'd be too scared. A custom ones like yours. So it's just, I think they're great. So, and we'll put all your links in for your Instagram and everything else later on, so then people can check that out. All right, what else you got to show us?
All right, what else can I show? Okay, so this is my brain going. This is again what a really iconic boss from R-Type, IRM's R-Type. It's a model, actually. It's a Japanese model. But I wanted to take it. I got thinking about how can I display this, and you know, got my brain thinking a little bit. So there's a bit of you know, everything looks to be floating. But what I've got is actually almost like a little $4 Christmas light type thing sitting there. So these eyes kind of glow, you know, and the tail glows. Which I'm going to put it into a box. It's going to eventually go into a box.
I was going to say, it almost looks like a pinball translite.
Yeah,
It has that feel
you can
about
see
it.
it's you know, it's 3D. But the way that I did it was basically you can see maybe you can see like some pegs. There's
Yes.
like fairy light pegs that stick through the wood, and
Mm.
then the actual the eyes actually clamp onto glue onto that, so that way, you know, they kind of shine. So anyway, look, they didn't do that in the arcade, but I just thought it'd make it a little bit more interesting. I'd like to have had it just permanently on. I suppose permanently on would have been better, but just something I'm playing around with. And then this was, I don't know, another one of my favourite driving games is Chase HQ. For anybody who knows that game from, I think it's 1987. So this is a little scene that I did. I bought both of those cars were 1/24th scale cars. The Lotus Esprit, I think it is. I got both these models from Japan, painted them up the same as the arcade game. I put in a few LEDs, so we've got an LED here for the siren, which currently is wired up fully, but and then we've got this flame at the back here that does light up, but I need something to poke the switch on. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that. Anyway, maybe we'll do that if I get a chance. But that lights up. That was made with hot glue. Hot glue and paint. That bit. Yeah. So you have to get creative and think of ways of doing it. And the characters, I don't know if you can see the characters there.
Yes.
But the characters are actually pit crew. So they were pit crew, F1 pit crew that I modified and turned into the characters from the game. Obviously, the door didn't open, so I had to do a cut and shut on that and cut that out. So I used things like the Dremel tool, Tamiya paints, you know, and different things like that, and a little bit of detail like the little Taito logo, you know. The exhausts weren't double exhaust, but they were on the arcade. So they're little things that I all added for authenticity and so on, you know. But that's another little thing that I do. So I've got all these little models and so on, and they're all stashed away, you know. So I thought I've got to start putting them into some kind of diorama or something, so I can actually have them out a bit more. Instead of being stuck in a cardboard box, you know. So
but considering like how much time you put into it, and it's also if someone comes over and they can see it, that, you know, so they can appreciate it too, as opposed to I built this and now I'm just putting it away. So, you know, it's meant to be seen.
That's right.
So
that's it. So there are a few of the things that I'm into. What else? Can't think of anything else, actually. You asked me a few questions.
Okay, tell us about the podcast and everything else you've been doing.
Podcast. Yes, all right. So the podcast, it's called the Arcade Perfect Podcast. It's done with my good friend Darren Daz Borg. Daz was he's been in the podcast scene for probably 13, 14 years, I think, in Australia. He started off as a retro domination podcast, which I think became a very popular Australian gaming podcast. So we started the Arcade Perfect podcast probably two and a bit years ago, and it was quite interesting. I mean, I met Daz through PAX, you know, and like a lot of retro gamers, you know, met through events and so on. And Daz texted me one day and he kind of said, "Do you fancy doing a podcast?" And I said, "I'm not sure. I've never done one before. You know, it'd have to be on something that I'm really interested in." And Daz is really into the computer side, you know, the old vintage computers. Where I'm more into the arcades these days. I was a big fan, and an adult, you know, the C64 and the Amiga. So I remember those well, and they were a big part of my childhood. But he's still really into that scene, you know, as much as he was as a kid. I've kind of moved away from that and more into the arcade kind of scene these days. So it had to be something that we're both kind of interested in to put the passion there and to keep it going. And just out of the blue, I think a few messages back and forth, we came up with this idea of what we'd do is we'd do the Arcade Perfect podcast and then look at the arcade machine, one game each episode, and then look at all of the ports and the conversions that came out for that game. So, we cover everything from the Atari 2600, through that console era to the Amstrad CPC, C64, all that era, the 8-bit era computers. We're going to 16-bit with the ST, Amiga. We even, put the effort in to try and get hold of the Japanese computers like the X68000 and some of these obscure Japanese power systems that were out there. And we get all the conversions and review them and compare them to the arcade. And like you mentioned earlier on, we're outrunning the Amstrad version and the C64 version. They're not the arcade; they're quite different. So it's interesting to go back and play them. And sometimes things surprise you, because they've got better parts than the arcade. Quite often they're not, but the odd one is preferable sometimes to the original machine because somebody's added a few bells and whistles to the version and made it better. So
but especially some of those Amiga games, even in, you're talking mid to late 80s sort of thing, some of the games were really superior. And I think I was more impressed by going to a friend's house who had an Amiga and he had it hooked up to a stereo system, which I was like blown away because it was so loud. But how smooth it was. There was no kind of jaggedness to anything. There was a lot of stuff like car racing games where things came at you like the arcades. And I remember just looking at it and just thinking, wow, this is amazing.
I think at that age, in the late 80s, that the computers had caught up, hadn't they? And we've got this kind of almost parallel ability where we could do the same thing. And that was the same in Japan with the Sharp 68000. Home computer was also the computer that was used for a lot of the late 80s games as well. So they had a great deal over there. They had a machine that actually produced those games, and you got them on 2, 3, 4 discs, and they were the arcade codes. So it was pretty impressive what they were getting. We had the Amiga. We had some good hits. We had some great hits. We had some that weren't converted quite so well, and so on. But so we've been doing that. We get different guests on. I mean, that's a really good part of the podcast. Is Daz is kind of the networker. He does a lot of the networking, and we've had people on, who do YouTube, other podcasts. And things like that. We've had a couple of developers on. We had on not so long ago George Gomez, who's is a CCO of Stern Pinball.
Okay.
So he dialed in from the US, and we had an interview with him very early one Sunday morning. So it's generally themed around doing one arcade game a month, but once or twice a year we'll do a special, and we'll interview somebody from the scene who's been involved in creating something in the scene. But it's really good. We get to meet different people. We've had a few people from Japan, Canada. We've got a guy on the last podcast from Sweden. So we're branching out a little bit. We've not had any female people on yet. We need to mix it up a little bit.
You do.
But generally, it's turned out really well. We do all right. We do pretty well. We're getting good, reasonable viewing ratings and all that. So we're more than happy with kind of how it's gone. So quite enjoy it.
I got a question for you, being an arcade enthusiast. Is it Galaga or Galaga?
Well, you know how I say it now. I say Galaga now.
Yeah.
And I get beaten up for it by a lot of my old school friends from the UK, because in the UK it was always Gallagher.
Yeah,
so
I'd always
Gallagher.
Yeah, it was always Galaga for when, you know, and yeah, every time I'd watch some movie like the Avengers, they said Galaga, and I'm there going, oh. And I actually had some people say to me a while ago, going, you do know that apparently the creator said it's supposed to be Galaga, and I went, yeah, that's great. but yeah, but this time 12 months ago, like I'd always like I've had a 4-player early 90s Ninja Turtle machine that I rebuilt many years ago, and yeah, it's nice green, all that sort of stuff, and you know, did the coin mechanisms and did everything, got it all working, going. But I always wanted a tabletop, and I'd been looking for like 20 years, really. I'd been looking for something, and then this time last year I actually picked up one, and it's an old Galaga one, and the story of the guy that actually fixes all these up, he does it for the love of it. He apparently went on a road trip to Wollongong to pick it up, bought it, came all the way back, and then fixed it, and then sold it at this incredible price, which I thought was just amazing.
Wow!
And I knew that he was an enthusiast because he said in the description, it needs a good clean. And when I got there, I was like, this is the most immaculate looking machine I've ever seen in my life. And he was such a gentleman. He was, I had my son with me, and he was like, why don't you just hang out? And I'm like, I've got to, because it's on the other side of the city. We're like, it's going to take us like hours to get back. And he's like, I've got this and this and this and this and this. And he was so welcoming. And like, I was expecting to kind of grab it and go. But yeah, we stayed for like another 2 hours, and we were just sharing stories and stuff. And I was like, wow, isn't this amazing? And he was like thrilled that it was going to a place where someone wanted it. Because I said, oh, no, I'm not stripping it out. I'm not putting a flat screen. I'm keeping the original CRT and everything. And he's like, oh, and he was so chuffed about that. So, it was really good. So I always wanted one, and I finally got it. So I scratched that itch. So
excellent. Very good. So it's just dedicated Galaga or Galaga, is it?
It has the hand control thing. It's just back, left, right. That's it.
Left and right.
Left and right. You can't. If I wanted to put Donkey Kong in it or anything else, I wouldn't be able to. Because it
won't go anywhere.
It won't go anywhere. So So I'm quite happy with that. And
have you tried to get? Have you kept a note of your scores? Have you heading up the?
I haven't. Scores? I haven't at this point. I've kind of I've been so busy, especially I got it, played it for a little bit, and then I barely touched it, but I know it's there, and it's always joyous because when Target had those old-fashioned fish and chip shop stools.
Yes.
I'd actually had bought those a few years ago in preparation to get one of these things, which I was really thrilled. And I was out playing. Had the kids out there having a go and everything else. But once things calm down a bit.
I've got one of those in the kitchen actually.
Yeah.
It's between the kitchen and the dining area, a tabletop that I actually bought it all the way. It cost me £100 in the UK. I bought it in the UK. On the mine's the opposite way around, Andrew. It looked reasonable on the pictures, but a bit beaten up.
Yeah.
And the guy says, I'll actually drop it off to you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow, that's brilliant. Free drop off. It was like 15 minutes away in the car, He come and dropped it off. And when he put it down on the driveway, I was thinking, bloody hell, this is a lot worse than what it looked almost, from the pictures. You got the good angle when you took the picture. But I spent a year or two, got a new glass for it, and tied up the controls and whatever. And it's a multi-game one, It's not got the original. It was actually Hangly Man.
Oh, right.
Okay? Hangly Man. Yeah, it's a bootleg. There's a bootleg Pacman cocktail cabinet called Hangly Man. Yeah, which I think was some kind of English-Japanese mistranslation of Hungry Man.
Yeah.
Because he eats the pellets and eats the ghosts and things like that. So I did strip that out, and I put a big multi-board in there, but still sitting in the kitchen, that one.
Yeah.
And I've got a Sega Afterburner as well. Not the big one that, you know, moves up and down, but I've got an Australian-built Sega Afterburner, which is in pieces still in the shed. And that's kind of one of those projects that it needs a lot of love. And, you know, one day when it's sunny outside, I might be able to I might move forward a little bit with it. But, yeah, it's been a few years on the back burner, that one. I keep saying I'm going to do something.
Yeah, and that's another iconic game that was kind of around that period where, you know, I think arcades were starting to drop off a bit, and they were like, hey, we have to reinvent something. And, you know, suddenly Outrun appears, Afterburner appears, and, you know, a number of other titles. And it was like, it brought people back in. Or even in bowling alleys where it's like you'd see all the arcade machines and no one's over at them. And then all of a sudden they bring those in. And then, you know, it's back to how it was.
People looking, doesn't it, you know?
Yeah.
Well, they introduced a lot of the motion control, didn't they? And things like that to get people really, you know, to catch people's eyes. So they'd sit them at the front of the arcade and see these big moving machines, you know, for $1, $2 a go, whatever it was back then. And
which was expensive.
You know, it was an experience. It was like an experience, wasn't it? Did you ever have a go in the R360, the one that did full rotation?
Yeah, I remember having to be strapped in. Yeah, and I had one go at it. And because I remember there was a lot of people waiting, and then the next time I went to see it, it was out of order. So so I never actually ever had, and I had only ever really before and after that one was the one that kind of moves back and forth. And then I think there was a stationary one as well. So but I always usually focus on the one where it was kind of like moving back.
That's right.
So So and that was the thing is, like, even I remember thinking, oh wow, it's just $1, this is expensive, because, you know, here it was 20 cents. And
it doesn't last very long either, does it?
no, but it was more of like, oh, I had to go. It wasn't that fun.
I survived.
And then you'd watch other people, you know, go, wow, they lasted, you know, 2.5 minutes or something, if they were lucky. And but it was like, oh, isn't that great? So
you did actually spend a lot of time watching people in the arcade, didn't you? Playing games, because you couldn't just keep playing. You used to play a little bit, watch what other people were doing, and then go back and.
Well, it's the same thing with like YouTube, with people watching, you know, walkthroughs and playthroughs. Like, I've had a lot of people go, oh, why do kids and that sit there and want? And I go, well, when there were, you know, even if it was only one arcade machine in that shop and you're with your mates, you're all there watching it. And you'd watch, watch, you know, I remember watching, you know, friends playing Ghost and Goblins and then just kind of watching, going, oh, okay, that's where the zombie's going to come out of the ground, and that's where this is.
Oh, little bonus there. I'll get it next time I play, you know.
And if it was getting a little bit too...
That's the only way you could learn, actually, wasn't it? To watch somebody playing it, you know, in the arcade or whatever. You know, you couldn't watch it on TV. You couldn't watch it on YouTube. You couldn't watch it on TV and things like that.
No.
Right. You either stumbled across it or you watched somebody else doing it. And that was kind of how it worked.
Yeah. But, now, one thing with your childhood, did you ever get this where you were, and it was a syndicated show around the world, and it was still with video games, but it was called TV Power?
No, I didn't.
Oh, well, this is basically the concept. This is what I remember as a 7 or 8 years old, and basically I thought it was like a local thing to where we lived in the country in northern New South Wales, but it was syndicated all over the world. So basically, what they had is they had an Atari or something set up in the studio at the TV station, and it was one of those games where the ships go into the middle, and you shoot, you know, its target, and they'd move away. And what you would do is you would send a letter to the station and you had to have a telephone that could see the TV, and then you would get picked out of at random, and they'd call you up and they'd say, you're going to play TV Power, so to win prizes. And so what you had to do is you had to say "pow" over the phone, and when you said "pow," the person in the studio would hit fire, and Yeah, and and it's funny because I remember screaming at the TV screen every week morning during the holidays because I didn't realize, okay, there was a slight delay with the phone and everything. So
I was going to say,
so there's some
we,
poor kid.
we worry about 1,000 millisecond lag these days, don't we? And
Yeah,
you're
so
doing it over the phone.
Yeah, I remember because I didn't realize, and there'd be kids going pow, pow, and it'd be like, "What's wrong with this kid? This kid, I want to be a champion at this."
Timing's terrible.
Yeah, it's awful. And they'd get like a score of like 6, and you're like, because you had like 30 seconds. I'm like, I would have got like 27. What are you talking about? And then you'd have some other kids who were going pow, 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 pow. They'd watched it, and yeah, you'd win all these amazing prizes. It's someone's popped a couple of things, American versions of it on YouTube. So it's the same.
Yeah, right.
It's the same theme, the same game, but of course, local hosts. But like we only had that one.
Right.
But I found out that apparently Tasmania had some variations of the game, but in America they had American football and all these different ones. So so I thought I'd ask you if you'd actually
We did have a couple of computer game shows that came on over the years in the UK. On a Saturday morning, there was a Saturday morning, I think it was called Going Live.
Yeah.
It's called on a Saturday morning, and they played an Amiga game called Xenon.
Yeah.
Okay, and you used to win prizes. It was the same game every Saturday, and you had to get as far as you can through this game. To get so many points to win different prizes. There was that one, and there was another show which I can't remember what it's called now, but I distinctively remember they had 2 or 3 different games that they played throughout the show. And everybody had a joystick, and I could never tell what machine it was they were running it on because you could never see the machine. It was just the desk and the joystick. But they had 720 degrees. I remember the slalom in 720, skateboarding one. That was always one of the games, and Paperboy as well was the other one where they always went over the track at the end.
Yeah,
get to the finish line. So I always remember. But those were 2 games that they played in this. And the other one was Hyper Sports. The swimming, when they did the swimming in Hyper Sports. That was another event that they had, as well on it. So, but yeah, I used to like watching that. Cause
was that the daily? Was that the sports? Was it Daily? His last name? English sports.
Daley Thompson.
Daley Thompson, yes.
Yeah.
Was it his version of the game?
No, it wasn't. No, it was the arcade. It was the Konami.
Okay.
It was a sequel to Track and Field. That one. In fact, I think it had Track and Field. Some of the Track and Field events on it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I didn't really know of any Australian track stars at the time, but I knew who Daley Thompson was because he was on the cover of all these video games.
Yeah. Daley Thompson. Decathlon. That was
yeah. And I had Frank Bruno's boxing. So
Frank Bruno's boxing.
Yeah. And I had him actually, and you fought your way through, and you could defeat like a kind of a Tyson type ripoff. It looked like Tyson. So
that was it. Yeah, Frank Bruno. Yeah, and there's always a few. You're right. They're the kind of things that you remember. These sports personalities, you remember it through the video games.
Yeah.
They have their own game, it's like
Now, one thing, so one thing I ask all my people I interview is like, what's your favorite movie, and what are you watching on TV at the moment?
Yeah. Okay. All right. What am I? So, good question. What do I like to watch on TV? I tell you, probably the most interesting thing that I've watched recently is The Mandalorian. I really enjoyed that.
Yes, so did I.
I really enjoyed. I've been watching that. Bosch, which is a detective program. I think it's on Netflix. I think.
Okay.
From a geeky side of things, the Dark Crystal series, I really enjoyed that.
Okay. I still haven't seen that yet, so.
Yeah, okay. I watched that with my kids. They really enjoyed it, and it brought back a lot of memories for me. I just thought, this is how I used to remember watching animations. With the puppets and things like that. when you watch those films now, maybe they're not quite as good as they used to be, but this is like cutting edge puppetry still.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's got the same appeal as what it did when I was a kid. It still looks amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed that. What else have I watched recently? I don't do. You know what I do? I don't watch that much these days because I tend to play games, or do a bit of modeling and things like that. So it's not so much these days. But there are a few things that stand out in my mind that I've really really enjoyed in recent times. Have you watched The Mandalorian?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Their kind of use of using real models and things in it, and that really appealed to me, and just the feel of it. It just was something I was watching, going, oh, this works. It wasn't like you watched it and went, oh, that was all right, or or has this person ever watched a Star Wars movie ever, sort of thing. But no, I was like, I can't think of the people who are directing it in that.
I think there was is it John Favreau?
Yes,
John Favreau, he did some, didn't he?
Yeah.
The Ultimate Fighter of Friends.
Yes.
You remember that?
I remember that.
I love those few episodes as well.
Yeah.
He was a good character in Friends. Yeah.
Because he used to always pop up in all those sort of things, and he was one of those actors that you kind of recognized.
Yeah. That's right.
It was like, oh, this guy again. And what's he playing this time? And I've loved a lot of his films. I saw a movie he made, was it Chef? Where he goes around in a like a food van.
Right. Okay.
That was actually quite an entertaining movie. When they announced that he was going to be working on The Mandalorian, I went, oh,
What's he know about Star Wars?
But he was like, no. I thought no, it was good. I thought,
okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think But no, when I first heard, I went, oh, he's going to do it. It's like, oh, great. He's the sort of person that, I kind of thought was a really good storyteller. So, So I thought that was pretty interesting. Like, it'd be interesting to see how long it goes for, whether they go, look, we do, 2 seasons and then that, and we just leave it on a high.
Yes.
That's it, or, or do we just bleed it to death?
It depends on how much merchandise we can sell at.
There you go. Yeah.
Another guilty pleasure at the moment. My wife's been mainly watching it, but I've started to, I've perhaps been playing on the Switch, watching it a little bit, and now I've got to the point now where I've put the Switch down and I'm fully focused on watching it. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, right.
I've never watched it before,
Really?
It's, I don't know. What is it, 20 odd years old probably?
It's funny because I remember I used to come home for either late at work or studies or something, and every time I used to put it on, especially late night TV, I think it was on Channel 7, I'd put it on and it was always the same episode where he's a robot or something or whatever. Right. And I'm like, yeah. But it was like, oh, let's just keep playing the same episode every 3 months. So I was like, okay. Yeah. But I used to watch bits and pieces of it, and I knew when it was at its peak, I knew a lot of people who watched it, and they were just like, they thought
it's fun. It's quite fun. You take your brain out and just watch.
Oh yeah.
It's entertaining. It's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's meant to be, but it is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I tend to be watching at the moment. Like I say, if I get a bit of spare time, I tend to. Well, I have to get quite a bit of reviewing done for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get into my models and then I'll leave them alone for a while.
Yeah.
I did venture into making a few models and selling them on, which I think is not really for me. I think I found out because I build every one like it's my own and put so many hours into it. It's really not. You're not doing it to sell it to make any money. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I sold a few Sega Outrun Testarossa models with the figures and everything. Made them myself and made this diorama. And I sold a few. I sold a couple to America, a couple to the UK. At one stage, I had 5 going in one. Batch 5 at the same time, painting them. gluing them, putting them together. But they don't travel very well either, even with the best packaging or whatever.
Yeah.
A couple of people's had a few bits fallen off, and it just became a bit too stressful. And
Yeah.
you know,
I know what you mean because I'm like,
people are paid for it, and you want
you
to make it the best you can. And
yeah. I've had that. Like, I've never had anything broken, especially if I've done like an action figure or made the packaging and did everything for it, and I sent it off, and always in my back of my mind is like, oh, if this turns up and it's been squashed or something's happened, you know, it'd be just really bad. Because I always see all those photos of people when they've just bought something from some sort of online store and they go, I bought this.
And it's tracked.
Yeah, and it looks like an elephant sat on it. And, you know, and they go, we complained in a polite way, but we were basically treated as if we were, you know, serfdom. So, yeah. Oh, we better leave it here. Yep.
Yep, no worries.
Oh, no, you were going to say something?
I was just going to ask you a bit more about your art, actually, because I see, you know, you on Instagram and on Facebook, some of the art that you did, and you're recently doing face, aren't you? You're working on face. And I think you have perhaps multiple ones that you go back to and tweak, but I'm very, very impressed with, you know, some of the stuff that you do yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, sometimes. Amazing, yeah, and the thing is, I only show the ones that work out. Because people go, oh, wow, everyone's great. And I go, yeah, that's one in like 8. And I'm like, you know, it's like, I did this one and this one and this one and this one. And like, I don't mention them anymore because there's a few that people never went back and showed the end of it. And I said, oh, yeah, because that one I totally destroyed. And it was just like, you know, it was like, oh, it's supposed to be like Barbara Eden as I Dream a Genie, but it ends up looking more like Larry Hagman. So, you know,
I'm like one of those restorers that hit the news last week.
Yeah,
I'll just go back and tweak that little bit, and then oh my god, it's turned out. It's
a definitely a hit and miss sort of thing. And then like I like to change styles as well in different mediums and different sorts of things. So I don't do that. I'm not as consistent like some people. They just go, I'm sticking to that style, and that's
that one style.
Yeah, I like to mix up just because it's more. That stuff is more for me, and most stuff that I do commission wise, you know, I don't pop it up because it's you know, people's personal sort of thing.
Yes,
yeah. There you go. But we're here to talk about you, so not me. So All right. Well, we better wrap it all up. Good. It was good to speak to you, Sean. It was great to actually see the shoes kind of moving around. So I've only seen them in images.
Yeah, cool.
So for everyone who's watching this through the TGF Tech Games Fest broadcast through New Game Plus TV's Twitch stream, we're going to have all of Sean's details available. So if you go check out the TGF Facebook page, all that information's there. So if you want to check out his Instagram and his podcasts and all that sort of stuff, it's worth following. And if you're watching this through Cause and Effect Gamers YouTube channel, several weeks after TGF, we will have all that information in the description. So you can go follow him and check out all their work and listen to their podcasts because they're pretty good.
Yep.
All right. So thank you much for your time.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for everything you're doing. Looking forward to the event. We'll be tuning in.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.